Members, good afternoon. It's the appointed time and we have a quorum. I call the meeting to order. Item 1 on the agenda, information paper issued since the last meeting. No information paper has been issued so far. Second item on the agenda, items for discussion at the next meeting. Please refer to the list of outstanding items for discussion and the list of follow-up actions. The next regular meeting will be held at 2:30 p.m. on the 21st of July 2025. That's a Monday. The administration proposes to discuss the following two items. First, practical arrangements for the 2025 Elections Committee subsector by-election and the specific arrangements for the 2025 Legislative Council general election. Any comments regarding the two items? If not, that's the plan for the next meeting. Third item on the agenda, latest progress of promotion of patriotic education. Would the clerk please invite the government representatives to enter the conference room? Members who would like to put questions, please press the request to speak button. Welcome, Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs and his colleagues for coming to this meeting. Secretary, please brief us of the paper when you're ready. Thank you, Chairman. Members, I'm glad to share with you about the latest progress of promotion of patriotic education of the government. The current term government attaches great importance to the promotion of patriotic education and endeavors to build in the Hong Kong SAR mainstream values characterized by patriotism with affection of our country and Hong Kong and conformity with the principle of one country system. The Working Group on Patriotic Education was formally established in April 2024 last year to coordinate the work of government departments and NGOs in taking forward patriotic education and fostering patriotic sentiments among all citizens and sectors in Hong Kong. The working group is of the view that patriotic education is all about working on people's hearts and feelings, a task that requires ongoing efforts and should be conducted through a soft and heart-moving approach. The working group has been implementing and devising short, medium to long-term initiatives to promote a patriotic education. Last year, in the 75th anniversary of the founding of the PRC, Paris Olympics, and the celebration of the 60th anniversary of Dongjiang water supply to Hong Kong, the working group has implemented a series of celebratory events with patriotic education elements. In the past 1 odd years, the working group has formulated and taken forward various measures. The details have been set out in the paper. They are very targeted and they are very effective in promoting the patriotic spirit among our people. This is the 80th anniversary of the Victory Day of the War of Resistance. This is the first time the country has gained victory against aggression of fascist forces and the Japanese. So the War of Resistance is an important element in our patriotic education efforts. In the last year's policy address, the chief executive pointed out very clearly that we are going to organize events and activities to promote patriotism. The working group will coordinate and collaborate with different bureaus and departments to organize a series of celebratory events and commemorative ceremonies to enhance people's awareness of the history of the war, so that we all remember that the greatness of our country today is due to the efforts of the soldiers and East River Column in Shenzhen and Hong Kong in the war. That's why we were able to progress in our great rejuvenation. We are preparing for the commemorative ceremonies for the anniversary of the Victory Day of the Chinese People War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. We have a series of themed exhibitions, student activities, film screenings, so on and so forth. We will encourage the participation of the community and coordinate different patriotic organizations in organizing various events to promote the spirit of patriotism in the city. The working group and the government is formulating a detailed plan of the events, and we will promulgate the details in due course. In November and December this year, we're going to organize the 15th National Games, and the NGD and the NSOG. The National Games for Persons with Disabilities and the 9th National Special Olympic Games. This is how we can promote patriotism. We will implement various promotional events to promote sportsmanship and enhance people's pride in our country and sense of identity, national identity. Looking forward, the government will work closely with the working group to promote patriotic education. Apart from implementing various medium to long-term measures, including community promotion, mass media, civil service training, and putting in place commemorative ceremonies for the Victory Day of the War of Resistance. We will continue to implement the measures set out in the policy address to promote patriotic education. President Xi Jinping said that patriotism or patriotic education is the core to our country. The reason why we were able to tide over various challenges is because of our patriotism. Patriotism is the most valuable assets of our culture. And this is conducive to the promotion of the great rejuvenation of our nation. This is also essential in maintaining the stability and safety of our city. That's why the entire community should work together to promote patriotic education, so that patriotism can take root in the minds of the citizen and the hearts of our young people. Today, together with the Education Bureau, the CSTB, the HYAB, and the ISD, will listen to members' view in this meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. There are 7 members who have pressed the button. I will read out their names. First, Dr. So Chan-wing. Second, Mr. Kenneth Falk. Third, Mr. Tang Fei. Fourth, Professor Priscilla Leung. The fifth, Mr. Chan Yong. And then Dr. Starry Lee. Seventh, Ms. Lillian Kwok. The 8th member, Mr. Eric Yim. Each member will have 4 minutes, including question and answer. Dr. So Chang-Wing. Thank you, Chairman. The SAR government attaches great importance to the patriotic education. That's why the outcome of the efforts is very significant. I noted the short, medium to long-term measures set out in the paper. I believe that they will be effective over the long run. I have 2 questions for the administration. First, Hong Kong has been promoting patriotic education combining major events and festivals. The National Games is coming up. Has the relevant bureaus and departments considered setting aside certain quotas for university students so that they can become volunteers? Has the administration coordinated with other cities in the Greater Bay Area so that we can set aside tickets for local students? Because by putting in place these 2 measures, we will allow our students to participate along with their parents in the national games and enhance their sense of national identity. Second, over these 2 years, there have been more and more people going shopping on the mainland, and I think that this trend is irreversible. Experience is a very important element when we want to promote patriotic education. When people are able to experience a country firsthand, then it will enhance the sense of patriotism in the people and foster their sense of patriotism. So I wonder if the administration has worked with other cities in the Greater Bay Area, in particular Shenzhen, so that we can encourage more people to visit the mainland. Two questions. Thank you. Secretary. I thank Dr. So for the questions. Dr. So cares very much about how we can engage local university students in the national games. He asked about if we are going to set aside quotas for volunteers and tickets to our local students. He also asked how we are going to promote the culture of the Greater Bay Area to foster patriotic sentiment. I will ask the CSTB to supplement. Thank you. Dr. So made a very great point. Hong Kong is going to co-host the 15th National Games and the NSOG. We are already collaborating with other cities in the Greater Bay Area in terms of sports. Regarding volunteers for the national games, we have just recruited about 18,000 volunteers for the national games. Their duties vary. We have, say, courtesy service for immigration, departure, crowd management. We haven't set aside quotas for local university students because some of the events take place during Monday to Friday. We know that there are many university students who have become volunteers for the games. We believe that throughout their participation, they would have a deeper understanding of our national development and have their sense of belonging fostered. Through organizing the games, we want to deepen people's understanding of the Chinese culture and their sense of belonging to the nation. Because we are going to organize a roving exhibition, we're going to play videos promoting the games, letting people know what cities participate in the games. By participating in these efforts, volunteers would enhance their understanding of our country. Thank you.
Secretary, what about going north for consumption? Mr. Chairman, I do agree very much with what Dr. So has said. I think the most effective way to promote national education is to allow the members of the public to know our motherland better and more, so that by knowing more about the national affairs, there will be a sense of identity, and then from that there will be the patriotic spirit. On the one hand, by spending our money northwards, we'll be promoting the economy of the GBA, and we can also understand our motherland better. So we have been promoting the cultural activities a lot. Owing to the inadequacy of time available today, we cannot and we could not have gone into the details. Any follow-up? No? Then next, Mr. Kenneth Falk. Thank you, Chair. I read the paper. There is a lot in the paper. I know that the government has done a lot in promoting patriotic education, and it takes bureaus and departments to join hands. So it is indeed commendable to see that so much has been achieved within such a short period of time. I read the paper, Secretary, in particular for paragraphs 36 and 41 about the NGs. I'm afraid I have to say a few words. That's mainly about publicity. Yes, there has been massive publicity, attracting more attendance by members of the public. That's of course unavoidable, but what's more important is the passing on of the spirit of the NG. A few points here. Well, the NG in the GBA, I think the central authorities would like to see consolidation among the 9 cities in the GBA. There is a working group on that. I want to know whether the 18 districts in Hong Kong can have some links with the 9 GBA cities, like forming into sister cities. And then perhaps for each GBA city, there are 9 of them, 2 districts from Hong Kong can partner with them. And whether we can have more GBA competitions for students, like basketball competition or volleyball competition for our students with GBA students. We can take the initiative to suggest the hosting of such events. I think after the Tokyo Olympics, the national athletes visited Hong Kong, and they were well received. They were very popular with our citizens. People lined up the streets to clap hands to cheer them up. I would like to see that happen again. I wonder if we can ask the national authorities to do the same. we have got many athletes in Guangdong province. Can they not be asked to come to Hong Kong to visit the schools regularly? I think we can sort of have it as a sort of after event effort after the hosting of the NG. And then culture. Of course, I represent the cultural sector as well. I know that there is the Chinese Cultural Festival. I can see that from paragraph 11. I attended many festivals. Yeah, they have attracted many participants. I just want to know whether you can have it more on the ground. It is a matter of people coming together rather than just having performances on the stage. We have had a lot of resources with the Guangdong counterparts. Can we not invite the masters from GBA to come to Hong Kong and visit our schools so that we can understand and hear from the masters themselves about their stories of success? I think we can do this together with the performances so that we can have exchanges. I think it's a good idea if we can line up the 18 districts with the 9 GBA cities. I think they can form partnerships, and so please do more in terms of cultural activities. All right, Secretary, medium and long-term measures and extension of the NGs. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Fogg, for his favorable suggestions and comments. In this paper, we set out what we have done. We did talk about the detailed publicity initiatives for the NG, but it doesn't mean that we have no plans to do other things or we haven't done any other things. Well, in fact, for the past few years, we have been working towards the co-hosting of the NGs, and we have been trying to host a lot of cultural mega events and sports mega events. Maybe I can defer to my colleagues to give you the details. Can I, Mr. Chairman? Yes, please, Ms. Chair. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Fogg, for his valuable comments. For the national games, I think that's the most important task right in front of us as to how the spirit can be passed on, how we can enhance the collaboration and partnership, how we can enhance the vibe, as to how we can have further cooperation with the 9 GBA cities. Sure, but more can be considered. And then cultural cooperation as to the medium, as to the format to be taken up so that we can deepen our cooperation on the ground. Well, your suggestion is in line with what we have been doing. Mr. Fogg mentioned the Chinese Culture Festival. It wasn't just something carried out by the LCSD, and we didn't just have local performing companies. In fact, we have invited excellent cultural companies from different provinces and cities to perform in the Chinese Culture Festival. Quite a lot of them are suitable for young participants, and many of them reach out to the schools. Say, for example, we have the tours among our schools by the Chinese theaters. So this is in line with what Mr. Fogg has been suggesting, that is, we should be more connected with the participants. In this way, the young people will be more impressed by the stories of the masters. Let me declare interest, Chair. I'm also a member of the Federation of Cultural organizations, so we do take part in the festival. I need to declare interest. Mr. Dang Fei, the paper is very rich in the content. I work in schools, and I know about the promotion of patriotic education in schools. You have my support and commendation. I just want to move on to another point. Recently, the police has carried out an enforcement action. Probably there is an online game originating from Taiwan which may be advocating separatism and has been taken off the shelf. It shows that while we are working hard to promote patriotic education, in particular this year we celebrate the 80th anniversary of the victory in the War of Resistance. On the other hand, we cannot rule out the possibility that people may be making use of games that are attractive to young people or tools that are attractive to young people to work against the trend. That is, we try to promote patriotic education, but then they are trying to deconstruct what we have been doing. They are trying to reverse the trend. Now, it is indeed ridiculous for them to try to make use of an online game because it's expensive and it takes a lot to research, to have knowledge build up before you can do it. And today, we live in the era of AI. You don't need to get a crew and try to shoot the film like the 10 years because there's no need for you to make such shorts or reels by asking real actors and actresses to do so. I think they can make use of AI to do so. Now we are celebrating the anniversary of the victory of the War of Resistance. On the other hand, the opponents are trying to advocate separatism, making use of AI tools and other shorts and reels attractive to the young people. They are trying to dampen our enthusiasm to promote patriotic education. So what are we going to do? What can we do to counter such forces? Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Tang, for your reminder. It is indeed something we need to pay attention to. Well, since the introduction and enactment of the national safety law, we have fine-tuned our mechanism. Well, we have been setting up a very good mechanism to control the risk as well as the threat of national security. And in fact, we have the relevant organizations, and together they have formed a very effective network to counter the forces. In our daily work, well, in fact, in relation to what might have an impact on national security, we are all ready at all levels in the government to deal with that. Mr. Tang referred to the possibility. As we have already said, national security risk is always there. The opposing forces are still trying to damage and destroy the government. So we are on the watch, looking out for new developments. We are monitoring the development, and if when necessary, we'll take action. For Mr. Tang Fei's point, it is noted, and in fact, we will take relevant action in the light of the latest developments. Thank you. Next, Professor Priscilla Leung. First of all, I highly commend the work carried out by the SARG in promoting patriotic education. I am responsible for recruiting new students at our university. From the new cohort, you can see that there have been changes in relation to the new generation of students. So, in fact, I teach basic law. Well, for our latest undergraduates, they're no longer the same like their predecessors who have been taught in the wrong way in relation to, say, basic law. So I want to ask this question. Given what is happening and in relation to what happened 10 years ago when the secondary students were brainwashed, and almost 60% of them were so, I'm afraid they haven't got the same opportunity like the 13, 14 years old we have now to have their wrong concepts rectified. Many of them are in their 30s or 40s, and they are professionals in our society. I just want to know as to how we can rectify the situation. We don't want to lose our talents anymore. That's the overriding principle. For this generation, for this group of people, well, in fact, I can share my experience with you recently. I have this friend. He used 30 years he made a film about his 30 years experience about learning martial arts. It's in English, so he's an American. He's a foreigner trying to tell a good story of China. It was shown to many people, and then among the highly intellectual intelligentsia group, it was well received. I want to know whether we can reach out to expatriates still staying in Hong Kong. There is expatriates working in Hong Kong. For this community, is it possible to reach out to them and encourage them to come and take part in such initiatives concerning patriotic education? The best would be international school students. Either their parents were sort of former students overseas and returning to the mainland or Hong Kong. So perhaps such students can be encouraged to join us, and then it will be very effective if they would also join us in telling good stories of China. They are knowledgeable, and they should also have the right perception. Well, on page 7, Constitution and Basic Law have been promoted for a long time. The participation of China in international affairs, it is something that we should work on more. That is, we should have documentaries, we can have publicity materials. Well, in fact, we are all proud of our motherland. For many years, we know that China is a peace-loving country. For the expats that are still remaining in Hong Kong, I think we should find alternative ways to target them, and then they can spread the message in the circles of expatriates. And then perhaps in this way, in the international community, we can capitalize on the latest trend. There is many people are attracted to China, and we can further build on the sense of pride, in particular among the young people. So I just want to highlight the needs of such a group.
Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. I thank Professor Leung for her suggestions. We often stress that patriotic education is crucial to the stability of our city and the promotion of the principle of one country, two systems. Everyone in the city must participate. Now, in terms of our strategies, we target actually different groups in promoting patriotic education. We have territory-wide activities and events. We promote our traditional festivals and national games. We will include patriotic education elements into these events and activities to enhance people's sense of belonging and national pride towards our country, so that they can foster in them patriotic sentiment. As particular cohorts, we formulate targeted measures. I think that Professor Leung's suggestions were great. We will look into how we can implement those in our day-to-day work so that we can cater to different groups of people. We want patriotic education everywhere in Hong Kong. That's what I'd like to stress. Secretary, can the EDB talk about what measures they have targeting international schools? Thank you. We attach a lot of importance to international schools. We issue guidelines on patriotic education to both the local and international schools. We note Professor Leung's suggestions. We will relay your comments and suggestions to my relevant colleagues. Chairman, I'd like to add one point. I think that your guideline is not that targeted. I think that you should tailor it to international schools. Parents of international school students told me that they like Hong Kong. I think that you should create videos on patriotic education targeting international schools, because parents of international school students will be the best people to promote our country and our city. Secretary, please work on it. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chan Yong, Deputy Chairman. I think that we all recognize the work of the Hong Kong SAR in promoting patriotic education. Last year, when we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the establishment of the PRC, I felt deeply the efforts put in by the government. We're going to have the national games, and by the end of this year, we're going to organize the general election. Some people are worried if we can integrate patriotic education elements into these events. I think that if we can incorporate such an element into all of our events and activities, then we can lower the cost of promotion and publicity. The government has included much red resources into our heritage trails. I think that you should add QR codes on the interpretation panels of the hiking trails. Then people would perhaps have a deeper understanding of the history of our country. That's my suggestion. Dr. Starry Lee, the convener of the working group, the secretary, and the departments, I know that they have visited some of the historic relics of the War of Resistance. Are you going to have new historic tourism spots? I think that the secretary should leverage the forces of community organizations in organizing celebratory events for the anniversary of victory in the War of Resistance. Should we turn vacant school premises into exhibition halls to promote the relevant anniversary of victory? I think that apart from exhibitions on, national security, young people like softer approach. Can we, create games that are more appealing to young people to promote our country's history and culture? We have, over 10,000 volunteers for the national games. Should we not organize activities for them beforehand so that these volunteers and for participants can make preparation earlier on. Secretary, I thank Mr. Chen for his invaluable suggestions. Regarding our publicity campaigns and events in the second half of the year, we're going to have the celebratory events for the reunification on the 1st of July. We're going to have the national games and the general election. Our workload in the second half is heavy, but we are excited for it. I think that these are very encouraging events for Hong Kong. We will definitely step up our efforts in promoting patriotic education. We will identify common elements among different events and activities to enhance synergy in terms of promotion and publicity. We're looking into how we can integrate the promotional efforts for the general election and the national games. As for historic relics of the War of Resistance, we have been collecting views from the community. The Working Group on Patriotic Education has conducted many visits to the conditions of the historic relics to see how we can improve and refurbish them. We have been also working on diversifying our promotional efforts. As I mentioned, we need a soft and heart-moving approach to promote patriotic education. Say, for example, when people go hiking, we want to, at the same time, allow them to understand the history of the War of Resistance and foster in them patriotic education, patriotic sentiments. We will continue our effort in this area. We're going to adopt innovative and creative approach in promoting patriotic education. Dr. Sarah Lee. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the Hong Kong SAR government, the chief executive, secretaries, and department heads for promoting patriotic education. As a part of the working group, I know that the government has been very proactive in this area. And I know that the theme of love our country, love Hong Kong, and love our community has become very popular in the community. We are going to have many major events. We're going to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the victory of the War of Resistance, the 60th anniversary of Dongjiang water supply to Hong Kong, and the national games. Regarding the 80th anniversary of the victory of the War of Resistance, the working group has visited many different spots. The Shuttlecock exhibition hall is an important spot. That is the Hong Kong Shuttlecock Anti-Japanese War Memorial Hall. Is operated by a community organization. I hope that the government will give them support. The organization has written to the government they want the land to be farmed as soon as possible to enhance access, and they only have a mobile toilets there. I believe that we should build a permanent toilet near the memorial hall and clean up the space because of increasing footfall there. As there will be more and more visitors going to the memorial hall, I hope that the government will address their concerns. I know that the government have been promoting and celebrating the 60th anniversary of Dongjiang water supply to Hong Kong. We use Dongjiang water every day. So I think that we should come up with more innovative ways for us to promote the anniversary. Third, on national games, it's not just a sports event. It's an opportunity for our young people to know more about the characteristics of different provinces and cities in the mainland. Each province and cities have their own strength in terms of sports. I think that this is a great opportunity for us to promote our country. So I hope that when the ISD is promoting the games, they will also highlight the strengths of the provinces and the culture and history of them so that our young people have a more comprehensive understanding.
Secretary, there are 3 suggestions here. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Lee. Thank you, Ms. Sterry Lee. And in fact, she's the convener of the working group on patriotic education. I'm grateful to her leadership, and we are benefiting from her valuable comments. In relation to the case of the Shuttlecock Memorial Hall, we paid a site visit, and there were many suggestions as to how the administration can improve upon the facilities there so that the resources to promote patriotic education can be enhanced. We are working on it, and in fact we can expedite the pace, and we are aware of the fact that there will be a growing demand in the near future. So we're going to speed up our work. As to the case of the national games as well as the supply of Dongjiang water, we're grateful to Ms. Lee for her suggestions. Let me check with the ISD to see if there is anything that we have been planning for. Please switch on her mic. Ms. Lee suggested that we should make it more lively in relation to the publicity materials of the Dongjiang water supply. We have been adopting a softer approach. Maybe we can talk to the Development Bureau to see what more can be done. You also talked about highlighting the characteristics of the participating provinces in the NGs. Well, in fact, the Bureau for Culture, Sports and Tourism is aware of this. For the ISD, we have also been promoting the NGs among the provinces and cities on the mainland so as to attract them to visit Hong Kong and Macau to watch the games. So your idea will be taken up. We will talk to the relevant bureaus as to how that can be done. Next, Ms. Lillian Kwok. Thank you, Chair. First of all, I must say that for the past few years, the government has done really a lot in relation to patriotic education. A few years back, when everybody talked about patriotism, few people had the solid ideas. Nowadays, we benefit from the hard work of the government, and we do have a lot of knowledge about patriotic education. Mention has been made about the reforms carried out in schools, in particular curriculum changes, the constitution, the basic law, as well as the history of the Chinese Communist Party. All of them are good, and it is a matter of passing on the inheritance. I wonder if we can do more. That is, in relation to our curriculum, maybe they can be sort of collated and standardized. Now, you do have enrichment of the formal curriculum. I think we need to have the element of patriotic education at all levels and in each and every subject. And then a word on family education. Yes, you have got parent-teacher education. In the year 2021, we have the Family Education Promotion Law. I think this is also an area where we can promote patriotic education. So I think we should have this considered. And thirdly, it's about the use of the resources. Currently, we try to work through the students to reach the families. I think at kindergarten levels, this is an area we can look into, and this way we can maximize the resources without duplicating them. Secretary, thank you, Ms. Kwok, for your suggestions. You covered a number of points, collation of the curriculum frameworks, family education, etc. Maybe I should defer to the Education Bureau. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Kwok, for her comments. Well, sort of streamlining, rationalization of the curriculum for patriotic education. We try to be sort of organic in the integration, and we have a multi-pronged approach. So for patriotic education, as far as our curriculum is concerned, we try to work through classroom learning. We have also got extracurricular activities like competitions as well as exchange tours. So we have been adopting a longitudinal as well as a horizontal approach. We have already reported our work to the working group on patriotic education. And then for parents, we have got the guidelines for secondary schools as well as the primary schools. That is the curriculum framework on parent education primary school and the curriculum framework on parent education secondary school. So that in terms of knowledge, in terms of other aspects, we can tie in with the efforts of the schools. Perhaps we can sort of refer the relevant information to the interested colleagues. For kindergartens, we have got guidelines, and for primary schools, again, we have said that we need to emphasize patriotic education, national safety education, etc. Ms. Kwok. Well, I think we need to let them feel for the patriotic spirit. Let me have a suggestion for you. That is the rule of law, education. Today, we talk about the basic law and the national safety education separately, but in fact we can have them sort of being integrated. So perhaps you should look more about the emotional or the affective aspect. Mr. Yim Kong, well, I think we mustn't forget the overall trends, but there are still a handful of people who try to be going in the opposite direction. On the mainland, they have already introduced the patriotic education law. There are voices saying that in the light of the patriotic education law, we should also have our own patriotic education law in Hong Kong. So what is the view taken by the administration? And then for patriotic education, we should start at a young age. We should start at the primary school level so that they have got the right national identity. And then young people should have the opportunity to know more about the Chinese history. I noticed that for the subject of Chinese history at the secondary school level, yes, there have been changes and reforms, but it is still not a core subject. I just wondered if the administration would do more. There are a total of 150 hours for the junior secondary students for the 3 years. There's an hour a week. I think that's grossly inadequate. Students cannot know the full history of China. So would you consider enhancing it to 200 or 300 hours? Who from the Bureau will take this question? Ms. Chen. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Yim. For the subject of Chinese history, we try to cover it via a number of other subjects, like the subject of Chinese language, as well as other non-academic subjects like sports as well as arts. Well, in fact, for all junior secondary school students, they have the chance to learn Chinese history. And then there are competitions and other learning opportunities that would allow these junior secondary students to know our own history. For senior secondary school students, we are looking at the relationship between the subject of world history and the subject of Chinese history. And then, of course, we have the citizen and society subject. I think it is good so that senior secondary school students can know more about the latest development of our motherland. So that's the citizenship and social development. Moreover, all students taking this subject will have the opportunity to go to the mainland for an exchange tour. So we're relying on such existing mechanisms. Thank you. Next, Mr. Holden Chow. I have a follow-up. Mr. Yim. In fact, one question hasn't been answered. The first one. Mr. Yim would like to know whether the SARG would introduce local legislation to mirror the patriotic education law. We did talk about this in the past. Well, currently, the patriotic education law of the PRC doesn't apply to Hong Kong, but in fact, we have been asked to promote patriotic education. Both the administration as well as local organizations have been very organized in promoting patriotic education. So for the time being, we believe that this approach is effective. And if we are going to impose too many restrictions, we are worried that this may have the effect of imposing unnecessary restrictions. We have emphasized time and again that we'll look at our local circumstances and try to tie in and echo the patriotic education law of the PRC. And we believe that this approach is right. We'll watch the development closely. Next, Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Chair. My observation is that for the past 5 years, since the introduction of the National Security Law, I think we have seen significant progress in promoting patriotic education. Prior to that, when you try to promote national education and patriotic education, it was really, really difficult. But nowadays, young people have a much stronger sense of national identity. So the contrast is huge, and you can see that this all because of the hard work of bureaus and departments. We have got TV APIs, publicity materials, etc. So I just want to say that at the district level, young people that we come across clearly show us that they have a much better and stronger sense of national identity. So we have got the right soil to nurture a new generation of patriotic young people. And such an approach should be upheld and should be continued. I think I want to talk about a point mentioned by others. I think the majority of the teachers, the majority of the students, as a result of the good national education and effective patriotic education, are doing very well. But I can't rule out the possibility of some black sheep among our teachers. That is, they may not subscribe to the idea of patriotism, or they may also have prejudice when they deal with such matters. What I want to say is that for this handful of teachers, on the one hand, we should make sure that there is unity in the mainstream. That is, we have TV APIs on patriotic education, on national games. Such should be continued. Now, students don't just get into contact with such teachers. They would also be exposed to other materials, so they will question the teacher's approach because they're exposed to other materials. And then exchange sessions. What is important is that we need to encourage the organization of exchange tours, but the aftermath is equally important. Sometimes a tour may be very short in terms of the number of days involved, and sometimes the effect cannot be achieved. So we need to find out about the impact. So exchange tours should be continued, but then after coming back from the tour, you may want to sample the impact on the participants. And in this way, I think it will be much better and much more effective.
Secretary, thank you. Chairman, I thank Mr. Chow for his suggestion. We've stressed time and again we should not complacent with the status quo and ignore the potential risks of national security. We should stay guarded against anyone who tries to undermine our national security. We have to adopt preventative measures. The members said that we should not rule out any black sheep among teachers. I believe that our administration will not let our guard down. We will continue to stay alert against such risks. As to how we can enhance the effectiveness of our mainland exchange tours, I agree that we have to make sure that our measures meet its intended goal. I will ask the EDB and the HYAB to elaborate. Thank you. I will allow time for the administration to give further reply because this is a very important issue. Thank you. Dr. Chan, we have been improving our mainland exchange tours and we identify destinations very carefully. We consult the Ministry of Education on the mainland in selecting the best itineraries for our students. Schools would often organize sharing sessions for teachers and students, and there is also exchanges between different schools. After students have gone to Chongqing and Xi'an, for example, they would share with other students in the school about their learning outcome, and they've been very effective. Next, Dr. Janice Ho. Chairman, we don't have any comments regarding the efforts of the administration. This is a statutory obligation of the administration. Article 10 and 9 of the Safeguarding National Security Ordinance says that it is our legal obligation to promote patriotic education. This is not a voluntary service of the government. The schools have the responsibility, the NGO, media, the internet, all have responsibility to promote national security and patriotic education. Article 11 says that the Hong Kong SAR government must submit a report to the country on a progress of promoting patriotic education. So this is an obligation. Second, on the 1st of January 2024, the National Patriotic Education Law was enacted. Although it's not applicable to the SAR directly, we have this Constitution and Basic Law Promotion Steering Committee to coordinate the works of different governments and NGO in taking forward patriotic education. The paper says that we should work on people's hearts and feelings when we promote patriotic education, and we should conduct the promotion through a soft and heart-moving approach. I think that this involves an ongoing effort. We need to have a format and a plan. You talked about extracurricular activities and out-of-classroom activities to promote patriotic education. Do you know what the 5 elements in the patriotic education law are? Do you know what the 5 elements to national security are? Can the Education Bureau tell me? I don't think you can. They're about foundation, security, protection. We should know about all of these 5 elements. It's also about principle. If the Education Bureau itself is not aware of the 5 elements, what expectations should we have for our students? I know that you have organized many events and activities participated by hundreds and tens of thousands of students. We have no idea what the students have learned. We need to have students go through examinations of their knowledge about our country. If I take an airplane, I accumulate points on our Marco Polo membership. I think that we should allow students to accumulate points after taking part in patriotic education activities. For example, allowing students to progress from ruby to diamond classes. We need to guide our students. Patriotic songs are not even as popular as the songs sung in the TV program Midlife Sing and Shine. I think that we need concrete efforts. Many LegCo members actually work together to promote patriotic education. I'm grateful to the chairman. I don't see the government in engaging community organizations or NGOs in promoting patriotic education. The administration can't even tell me the 5 elements. People should be awarded if they do well in promoting patriotic education. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you. The administration didn't have an opportunity to reply as Dr. Ho was speaking. It doesn't mean that they are not aware of the 5 elements. Secretary. Thank you. Dr. Ho has been very passionate about patriotic education. Regarding the suggestions and comments made by Dr. Ho, well, first, we attach great importance to the issue. We fully understand that it is our legal obligation and our civic responsibility as a Chinese to promote the stability and prosperity of our country and our city. I understand that Dr. Ho is very passionate about this subject. We understand that promoting education, patriotic education, requires ongoing efforts, and there is always room for improvement. That's why I said that we need the engagement of different sectors of the community, along with logical members, when we implement our measures. We often listen to the views of the logical members. We note your suggestions. I think that we do have to work together to strive for better. Thank you. Mr. Lee Chen-kan. Thank you, Chairman. I think that the government has been very proactive in promoting patriotic education. They implement actual measures. I do not fully agree with what Dr. Ho said. In order for someone to love the country, they need to enhance their understanding of the place. We need to recognize the strengths and weakness of our country before we can truly become a patriot. We're glad that our country has won many medals in various sports events. However, at the same time, our country is also suppressed by foreign forces. I think that we have to look into what we can do as a part of our nation. We need to have a better understanding of the national development, how we became the second largest economies in the world. I think that the Education Bureau and the HYAB's efforts are very effective. They led students and young people to the mainland so that they can have a first-hand experience of the national development. They were able to take the express rail link of our country. Previously, we were impressed by the bullet train of Japan, but today they have not made any progress at all. While our country has developed the express rail link, we also need to let our young people know how our country loves Hong Kong by supplying Dongjiang water to us. Despite having a drought in the country. We won't be able to turn everyone into patriots just by making efforts in these few years. Since I was young, I have been going to the mainland all the time. It took me one day and night in order to travel to Jiangmen when I was young. However, today it only takes 1 hour. Secretary, I thank you and the other departments for their efforts in promoting patriotic education. Secretary, I thank Mr. Lee for his encouragement and recognition. In the LegCo, we were able to listen to diverse views. Some recognize our work, some don't. I think that this is an invaluable opportunity for us to listen to different views. We are going to stay humble. I think that we share this common goal in promoting patriotic education and prosperity of our city and safeguarding national security. Thank you.
多謝主席。
Ms. Maggie Chen. Thank you, Chair. Well, we used to have chaos. Now order has been restored. We still have to overcome many difficulties before we can further promote patriotic education. I can see the commitment of the government, and we also have to rely on the community. Everybody is keen to pursue the same goal. For patriotic education, it takes time to achieve any results. It is a long-term work. But it doesn't mean that we become very emotional whenever we talk about patriotic education. We have to learn from our history, from our experience. Well, we should look at our own history, and we should try to find out what we should do and what we can do to rejuvenate the Chinese nation in the light of the previous national security events. That's the most important point. And paragraph 22 talks about museums. I emphasized the significance of Chinese history. And in fact, museum can give you an immersive experience so that you can learn about patriotic education and build up your sense of identity. Now in paragraph 22, it says that our museums are rich in resources, and we've been working hard to join hands with mainland museums to carry out patriotic education. In paragraph 39, subparagraph C, it is said that the Museum of History will be working with the National Museum of China to organize large-scale thematic exhibitions. For the Museum of the War of Resistance and Coastal Defense, again, it is going to cooperate with mainland museums. But I'm afraid the efforts are still inadequate. We should put in ever more efforts, and we should have it done online and offline. We should link up with the red resources, and we should have online red museums. We should set up GBA patriotic education centers so that we have immersive experience. We can't just rely on our own local resources. So will the government consider adopting AI and other technologies so as to make us more attractive to our young people, and do partner with mainland museums and set up online, offline museums, and then we can be free from the restrictions of time and location. This year we celebrate the 80th anniversary of the victory in the War of Resistance. This is the best timing for us to be innovative in enhancing the coverage of patriotic education. And in this way, we can sort of be innovative in expanding the channels of patriotic education. Secretary, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Maggie Chen, for her valuable comments. She has got many good suggestions. Well, she was mainly about museum resources and innovative channels. Let me defer to the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau. Let's share with us your plans. Ms. Chair, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Chen, for her suggestions. Well, for our exhibitions, we have had cooperation with the National Museums. Ms. Lee got a similar idea. By showcasing the achievements, then visitors to our museums can learn about the latest progress of our motherland. In the year 2023-2024, we have the manned spacecraft exhibition to showcase the latest development. And then we have also got a series of exhibitions talking about the talking about all the smart developments. Ms. Chen referred to the Museum of the War of Resistance and Coastal Defense. Probably that's an even better place to host the exhibition. Of course, the museum has been renamed from the Museum of Coastal Defense, and we highlight the theme of the War of Resistance. And we have got permanent exhibitions, we have got thematic exhibitions, which are the products of cooperation with mainland museums. And we have had a cooperation with the Culture, Media, Tourism and Sports Bureau of Shenzhen Municipality. We have also got the Brothers in Arms War of Resistance activities of the East River Column in Shenzhen and Hong Kong thematic exhibition. So it shows that in terms of museum resources, we've been sharing the resources with our mainland counterparts. And Ms. Chen also said that visiting museums should be an experience that need to be enhanced. This is inadequate. In fact, we should go in person. And she wondered whether we can have more online resources. The LCSD is exactly doing that, and in fact we have got a channel, and wherever possible the LCSD has got stories about Chinese characters, appreciation of Chinese literature, etc. And sometimes we have extracts of certain talks or seminars, or you can also have a view of the exhibits of such thematic exhibitions. Anybody from whichever walk of life and from whichever age band can take a look. So we try to be as extensive as possible, and this channel can be sort of publicized so that people can be free from the physical restrictions of where you are. Ms. Chen, are you going to have collaboration with mainland museums so that you hold online exhibitions? Yes, Ms. Chair, please consider that. Next, Mr. Kingsley Wong. Well, we need to enhance the spirit of patriotism so that people would consciously and voluntarily love our country, and we should mobilize the entire population to take part in such work before we can be successful. This is our aim, and we have to find ways to do it. I think not too long ago we had the Hong Kong Shuttlecock Anti-Chinese War Memorial Hall. It was a local effort, and we were given vivid sort of introduction about the resistance of the Law's family. We are celebrating the 60th anniversary of Dongjiang water supply to Hong Kong. The FTU, as well as the Federation of Industry, have been working very hard and whenever there was a natural disaster, our associations had helped a lot. Prior to 1997, of course, this wasn't mentioned, but in fact, we did play a role. So please don't forget the contribution of such groups. And then for Henry Fok, Runman Shaw, etc., they have been contributing a lot to the national development despite their background as businessmen. I think their stories should be highlighted, and it will help towards the promotion of patriotic education. So I just wonder if you are going to have a list of 10 outstanding patriotic individuals. They may have a businessman background, or they are just an ordinary citizen. Patriotism may be a very vague idea, but if you have stories of such characters, then it will be more concrete. So are you going to have a list of outstanding patriots? And then we should also mobilize the organizations in taking part in patriotic education. For the celebration of the 80th anniversary of victory in the War of Resistance, are you going to work together with the brothers of the column of the Dongjiang? So, Secretary. Sorry, speaker is off mic. Let me sort out the question asked by Mr. Wong. I think he would like to emphasize the contribution of individuals. Well, patriotism may be vague, but what about outstanding individuals? I think their stories should become examples for us to follow, and then you need the support of local organizations. Now we are celebrating the 80th anniversary of the victory in the War of Resistance. What about the resistance organizations? There were many of them. Can you not sort of highlight their contribution as well? Thank you, Mr. Wong, for his suggestions as well as his questions. Well, we did emphasize that on all aspects, on all fronts, like in terms of the economy, in terms of sports, literature, etc., we have been working on patriotic education. For the history of our victory in the War of Resistance, it is of course something very significant. There are events, stories, individuals, relics, etc. All of them are good resources, and we can highlight the spirit of patriotism. And Mr. Wong is right to say that in this way, it can become more vivid, and then the patriotic acts can be sort of highlighted. We did also talk to individual organizations to sort of carry out the activities. So we do join hands to make sure that this is properly carried out. Well, we have had a round of questions. Ms. Junius Ho will have a second round.
Thank you, Chairman. I did not elaborate my point about the accumulation program detailed enough. What I was saying is that the administration should step up their efforts in promoting patriotic education. We want to leverage more people to participate in the efforts. We all know the activities and events that the administration has organized. But it seems that we are seeing the same group of people participating in them. There's no point in lecturing our young people. We need to make sure that they participate in them, in the activities and events. We should create a program like the Mileage Plus so that students and young people can be given medals when they progress in the classes and the programs. Our students are busy in their schoolwork. We need to incentivize them to participate in activities and events in relation to patriotic education. Fully understood. Thank you very much. We spent 1 hour and a half on this item. I thank the Secretary and his team for coming. Item 4 on the agenda, the equal opportunities of persons with disabilities to participate in society. Would the administration and the representatives of the Equal Opportunities Commission to come in? Members who'd like to put questions, please press the request to speak button. As we've spent quite a lot of time discussing the last item, if necessary, I may extend the meeting by 15 minutes. Ms. Linda Lam, chairperson of the EOC, her colleagues, representatives from the CMAB, welcome. I know that Ms. Lam will brief us on the paper with the aid of a PowerPoint slide. Over to you. Members, the EOC has submitted a set of paper to the LegCo briefing members on the work of the EOC in promoting equal opportunities for PWDs in the community. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities says that the PWD should enjoy all human rights and fundamental freedoms regarding education, transportation, information, and communications. It is applicable to Hong Kong SAR enhancement in force for the PRC since 2008. The Disability Discrimination Ordinance of the Hong Kong SAR implement provisions of the UNCRPD. The EOC is responsible for enforcing the DDO, the Disability Discrimination Ordinance. We have been implementing our legal obligations in various aspects. We have been promoting barrier-free access, physical infrastructure, promoting digital accessibility for inclusive technology to facilitate the independent participations of PWDs in society for the realization of their potential. In February 2024, the EOC launched our first Universal Design Award Scheme, UDAS, to recognize organizations that excel in adopting universal design principles. We have presented 281 awards to locations frequently visited by the public, such as shopping malls and retail spaces, offices, restaurants, so on and so forth. By the end of this year, we're going to launch the second UDAS. 2 additional applications categories will be introduced in a new round covering public and private residential buildings and higher education institutions to engage housing estates across 18 districts of Hong Kong and encourage more premises to demonstrate good universal design practices. In the 2023 policy address, it is said that we are going to incorporate the universal accessibility design into the Design Manual Barrier-Free Access 2008. That's why the EOC has participated in the consultation meeting organized by the Housing and Buildings Department to give them our views. The EOC also invited the Bokia athlete and Paralympic gold medalist Ms. Ho Yun-kei to collaborate on a promotional video earlier this year to promote the idea of accessibility design. Ms. Ho showcased her first-hand experience as a wheelchair user while visiting two awarded premises from the first UDAS. The video has been uploaded onto the EOC website and the social media platforms last week. Ms. Ho is also here in this meeting. Apart from physical infrastructure, a barrier-free digital world is also important. Since 2018, the scheme on web accessibility recognition was organized by the Hong Kong International Registration Corporation Limited, with DPO serving as a co-organizer and the EOC serving as an independent advisor. Starting from 2024, the scheme has been renamed from Web Accessibility Recognition Scheme to Digital Accessibility Recognition Scheme. This goal is to encourage more organizations to enhance the accessibility features of their websites and mobile applications for fostering a future of digital inclusion. In November 2023, the EOC held a seminar titled Application of Accessible Technology in Catering Services. Misunderstanding is why discrimination arises. That's why the EOC has been formulating guidelines to enhance people's understanding and accessibility of PWDs. Over the past few years, we have compiled the guide docs, a practical guide to introduce the definition and identification methods of guide docs, sharing the daily experience of guide docs users. We have also released the How to Support Employees with Dementia at Work, a practical guide for employers to outline the common challenges faced by persons with dementia and also clarify widespread misconceptions about the condition. It provides employers with recommended work arrangements to support employees with dementia as well as carers of family members with dementia. We have also released the media guidelines for reporting on mental health issues to encourage media practitioners to report on mental health issues or incidents in a fair and objective manner, ensuring that the public receives accurate information about mental health conditions. We've also published the How to Support Persons with Disabilities Practical Guide Universal Design for Catering Services to provide guidance to the catering industry. It covers typical dining process from entering a restaurant to ordering and the dining environment. In 2025, we are devising a guidelines on removal of operational and attitudinal barriers in provision of goods, services, and facilitations, as well as management of premises. The EOC supports integrated education in primary and secondary education. In November 2021, the EOC announced the findings of the study on equal learning opportunities for students with disabilities under the integrated education system. We analyzed the stakeholders' views on integrated education and identify the difficulties they encountered. We have suggested appointment of designated special education needs coordinators, SENCOs, to manage the affairs of students with SEN. The EDB adopted our recommendations and initiated a 3-year pilot project on SENCOs in the 2015-16 school year. Subsequently, starting from 2017-18 school year, by phases in 3 years, the EDB provided each public sector ordinary primary and secondary schools with a graduate teacher post to take up the role of SENCO. We have been providing policy advice to the EDB. In June 2023, we released the findings of the study on challenges, effective policies, and best practices of ordinary schools in educating students with special education needs in Hong Kong. This study identified the difficulties encountered by ordinary schools in implementing IE and offered recommendations. The EDB has rolled out various measures to improve IE, such as by implementing the enhanced school-based educational psychology service, enhanced school-based speech therapist service, and the establishment of special education needs support teacher posts. Since 2014, we have been conducting regular meetings with 10 local universities, enabling universities' representatives to discuss their policies, measures, and facilities for supporting students with SEN and share insights. We have been encouraging the UGC to set up dedicated funding to support the needs of students with SEN. We have also worked with 2 local universities to develop part of these SEN online training modules to further encourage members of the university and public to create an inclusive learning environment. Transitioning from school to work is a major challenge faced by young persons with disabilities. In June 2023, the EOC published a study on effective strategies to facilitate school-to-work transition of young persons with disabilities in Hong Kong. To identify the difficulties faced by young people when they transition from school to work and offer recommendations from both educational and employment perspectives. Over the past 2 years, the EOC also participated in seminars promoting employment opportunities for students with SEN. Last year, we have worked with the 2 medical schools to look into how we can balance the awarding of professional qualifications with provision of reasonable accommodation. The 3 organizations subsequently issued a consensus statement. With respect to the education and training of medical students and specialist trainees requiring special accommodation due to disabilities or SEN, thereby promoting equal opportunities. People with disabilities is still faced with certain degree of discrimination at workplace. In February 2023, the EOC released the findings of the study on perceptions of stigmatization and discrimination of persons with mental illness in the workplace. The study found that there is discrimination against persons with mental illness in Hong Kong. The study recommends the government to consider strengthening public education to promote awareness and understanding of disability discrimination and employers to offer reasonable work accommodation to employees as a mental health-friendly employment practice. In December 2023, the EOC accepted the Labor Department's invitation to speak at the Human Resources Managers Club of the Workplace Consultation Promotion Division. We shared examples of effective measures to provide reasonable accommodation for employees with mental illness. This year, we will release a guideline titled How to Support Employees with Mental Health Conditions, along with some animation to enhance employers' understanding of mental illness. We're also going to leverage community organizations to promote disability inclusion. Members, in promoting equal opportunities for PWDs to participate in all aspects of life involves changing existing stereotypes of the perception of PWDs and raising public awareness about the abilities and needs of diverse disability groups. In the future, the EOC will continue to work with the relevant government bureaus and departments and stakeholders from various sectors to promote a caring and respectful culture in society and create a diverse, inclusive, and universal, accessible environment. Lastly, I'd like to invite members to take a look at the video on universal accessibility design.
運動員何婉琪，除咗賽場上
I am the Boccia athlete, Ms. Ho Yun-ki. What challenges do we face as wheelchair users? There are, for example, heavy doors or narrow entrances. They can prevent us from reaching our destination. In fact, overcoming these obstacles that affect myself and all PWDs is not that difficult. Want to know how we can create an inclusive society? Watch the short video I created with the EOC. Thank you, Ms. Lam and Ms. Ho Yun-ki. for coming to this meeting today. There are 4 members who have pressed the button to speak. They are Dr. Teck Ji-yun, Mr. Kenneth Falk, Mr. Chen Yong, and Ms. Doreen Kong. 4 minutes per member, including question and answer. Dr. Teck, please. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to talk about the universal accessibility design. If we implement the universal design across the territory, it will facilitate the commute of PWDs and the elderly. We want to encourage them to become volunteers and integrate into the society. Just now, the EOC talked about the award scheme, the Universal Design Award Scheme. But that's only to incentivize and encourage premises in offering or implementing universal design. I think that, however, relevant enterprises and government departments have the obligations to implement such a design. The public organizations, schools, government departments should all implement universal design. Listed companies, when they build shopping centers, they should implement such a design as well. So I think that instead of encouraging them to adopt universal design, we should mandate them in doing so. The EOC should issue guidelines to departments and enterprises that should shoulder such obligations, asking them to report to you the progress of implementation of universal design in their premises. Second, we should identify 2 districts, say for example Tu Mun and Wong Tai Sin, to work with the district councils to see how universal design practices have been adopted. To make sure that in some districts, say Wong Tai Sin, universal design is implemented across all buildings and premises. Second, we should identify the 2 pilot districts, and afterwards we should implement the design across all 18 districts.
Ms. Lam. Thank you, Mr. Tick, for his questions and his excellent ideas in relation to the responsibilities. Well, indeed, we have been working through the award scheme so as to promote the mainstreaming of the universal design. It is more than just an award ceremony. Well, we have been talking to the Property Management Services Association. We held many talks for the members to elaborate what is meant by universal design. In our paper, we did detail the activities as well as the seminars held to explain the concepts. Many sector practitioners did attend the seminars to learn about the universal design. They look forward to the hosting of the 2nd award design, and they would very much like to be awarded. It shows their contribution to the society. Well, for the SARG, in the year 2023, the policy address already said that universal design should become part of the design manual of the buildings department, and the department is working on the revision of the manual, and the UC also took part in the upgrading of the design manual. Well, we believe that initially the revision may be launched in the year 2026, and that would require new construction or major renovation be governed by the revised design manual. I think the buildings department is also represented here, so maybe the representative can add to my answer. As to the suggestion to mobilize the members of the 18 councils to implement universal design. I think it is a good idea. Last time we came, Mr. Tick came up with this suggestion. We considered the feasibility of having such a campaign. We believe that it would be quite complicated if we are to mobilize all the 18 of them. Therefore, in the second award scheme, we have added a new category to cover public and private residential developments. I think it is a flexible way to achieve what Mr. Tick would like to attain. That's why we're adding a new category to the second award scheme. According to the building ordinance, now if a private residential building is to provide features to accommodate the needs of PWD, then in fact we have already said that the revised design manual would apply to private as well as public residential buildings. What we want to do is to cover both private and public land, but then the design manual would apply to private residential buildings. Our manual would cover many concepts, and we have also made reference to requirements in Australia, UK, Canada, Singapore, the mainland, etc. And we have completed a consultation exercise. Mention has been made that the EOC, PWDs, elderly people, and elderly service groups, professional bodies involved in construction, relevant government departments, academic organizations, and chambers of commerce have all given very favorable comments for us. Upon completion of the consultation exercise, we had embarked on the drafting process. We expect to launch it in the first quarter of year 2026. Let's hope that the universal design will be implemented in private residential buildings. Mr. Tick, let me clarify one point. All the time, government departments have asked public and private organizations to provide access paths for the PWDs. The facility may well be there, but it is not put into use. Now, for the universal design, it has to be inclusive, friendly, etc. That's based on the requirements of the United Nations. Are we having the universal design to form the basis of the design manual? Or the mere existence of the physical infrastructure would mean that you have met the requirement? Mr. Koh. For the design manual, we are updating it. We consider the views of different stakeholders, and we look at the physical environment and the prevailing circumstances. Will be detailed. Will give the details in the design manual, so that when an architect submits a building plan, we can be sure that the proposal can be implemented. Let's hope that you have more exchanges with the PWD groups. Surely that will be done. Mr. Kenneth Fong. Thank you, Chair. For today's agenda item, I want to look at the cultural aspect. Well, in terms of hardware, indeed the government has invested a lot for PWDs that want to take part in cultural activities. They don't encounter difficulties in that sense. But I want to talk more about software. It is about artistic accessibility. This is not mentioned in the paper, but I do hope that in future you will cover this as well. In many countries, in terms of art accessibility, in countries like the USA, a few decades back, They already legislated for it. I'm not advocating for legislation in Hong Kong. Well, of course, Hong Kong is supposed to be a center for the exchange of Chinese and Western arts. But then everybody has the right to take part in sports activities. I think the same should be true for artistic activities. In Hong Kong, artistic accessibility is not being sort of implemented. Some groups have given this more significance. I think we should do much more. Say, for example, sign language, oral description of the performance, braille, information, etc. Resources are limited. The government has provided little help. It may not be directly under the UC, but I hope the UC would also drive the relevant departments to do so. Maybe the Labor Department or the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau, so that we have accessibility in terms of arts and culture as well. Ms. Lam, indeed, in terms of artistic accessibility, the law doesn't impose a mandatory requirement. Well, universal design has been emphasized by the government for years, and universal design means that for both the public as well as the private sectors, when it comes to the provision of facilities and services, you don't just think about the mandatory requirements, which are requirements imposed on you by the law, but rather you try to consider the needs of the PWDs and try to facilitate the PWDs when you provide your goods and services and your facilities, so as to consider whether there is reasonable accommodation to suit the needs of the PWDs. What we are doing is to work through advocacy, education, and publicity, so that people from different sectors will use the universal design to promote inclusiveness. We've noticed that for newly completed facilities, this has been considered and incorporated, like the latest high-tech sports park. You can see such elements being incorporated. But of course, there's certainly room for improvement in relation to artistic accessibility. Universal design isn't just about the physical infrastructure. Software is also included. We are soon going to launch a guideline to talk about the removal of operational and attitudinal barriers in the provision of goods, services, and facilities, as well as management of premises. And then we have to remove the stereotypes as well as the biases of people in the light of the needs of the PWDs. Well, I think the business sector would like to do this. Like in the past, the UA cinemas were able to provide such services. That is, they will provide the oral description to the audience when a movie is shown. So we know that this can't happen and this won't happen overnight, but please bear this point in mind. I think this is noted. Next, Mr. Chen Yong. Well, I think we are taking the needs of the elderly and the PWDs more and more seriously. And then paragraph 31 of the paper refers to the unemployment rate of the PWDs in the year 2020. Probably the statistics have been sort of updated. Are you going to make sure that the UC has the latest figures so that the UC would know about the effectiveness of the policies and initiatives? That's in paragraph 31. Yes, a lot is being undertaken, but there are areas that call for improvement. What are the difficulties that you are facing? What are the bottlenecks that you are facing? Lack of resources, lack of cooperation and support among departments and bureaus. Now, facilities for PWDs are also suitable for pregnant ladies or elderly people. So it will benefit many more people than just PWDs. So please tell us about the bottlenecks as well as the limitations of restrictions. Thank you.
First, let's have the chairperson address the questions first, and then we'll see if the undersecretary has anything to add. Thank you. Regarding the employment rate of PWDs, we know that the Census and Statistics Department collect relevant data regularly. We will keep in view the relevant figures because this allows us to know about the employment situations of the PWDs better. We know that the CNSD update the relevant figures from time to time. As for the point about resources, we know that we have to work on improving the employment rate of PWDs. Discrimination and bias usually stems from misunderstanding and misconception. That's why we have been rolling out measures targeting employers. Because PWDs suffer from disabilities of different nature. Some can be seen, some are hidden. Some PWDs don't want to tell others that they are suffering from disabilities. Some of them suffer from physical disability. They may be in wheelchair. We may be able to tell they are PWDs, but some suffer from hidden disabilities. Some PWDs suffer from neurodiversity and ADHD. These people could be very talented and smart at the same time. That's why we have to enhance employers' understanding of these people, know what their potentials are. By this, we can facilitate matching services for PWDs. So I think that we have to work on better matching PWDs with the jobs that they are suitable for. There are many NGOs and community organizations that have been working on this area. They meet with PWDs and employers to see what their demands are, and they match the relevant PWDs with the employers, and they will follow up on the PWDs after they have taken on the job for a period of time before they exit the lives of the relevant PWDs when they have adapted to their work. Undersecretary, Mr. Wu, do you have anything to add? Thank you. The government has been keeping in view the situation of the community. We have been in close liaison with the EOC in reviewing the enactment of the DDO to make sure that it meets the needs of the society. Mr. Chan talked about collaboration of different departments and bureaus. We actually care about the mobility, the education level, employment situation of PWDs. That's why we have representatives from different government departments and bureaus here to respond to members' views and questions. We'll continue to listen to the views of different sectors of the society in implementing our work. Thank you. Ms. Doreen Kong. Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad to be able to talk about the challenges faced by PWDs in Hong Kong. I know that the Chairman cares very much about the welfare of PWDs. I'd like to talk about my own observations. First, on social participation. Just now, the chair of EOC said that PWDs face challenges in accessing certain premises and employment. We have to ensure social participation of PWDs. Just now, Mr. Kenneth Fogg talked about cultural activities, sports events. In the past, I didn't really see wheelchair users being spectators of tennis events. When I went to the football games in Kai Tak Sports Park, I found it very difficult to go up the stairs. So I hope that the EOC and the administration will enhance accessibility of our premises to ensure social participations of the PWDs. Second, on autism. There are some adults suffering from autism who told me that because of the lack of communication skills, they find it difficult to identify a job or find friends. These people with autism mustered much courage in speaking up to me. So I hope that the administration will address their concerns. In April, the EOC promoted the points to note observations from the Universal Design Award Scheme, and they revised the design manual. I hope that we will have more accessible toilets and you can clean it more frequently. I have some questions for the EOC chair. On employment discrimination, over the past 3 years, I see that there is growing discrimination. I wonder how many cases you have assisted. Now, on integration education for students with SEN. As we have more of them, I wonder how the EOC will support students with SEN. Thank you. Ms. Lam, please. Thank you, Ms. Kong, for giving us your suggestions. We will continue to work on our award scheme to incentivize enterprises and the business sector in offering universal infrastructures. We promote universal design so that different premises will implement universal and barrier-free access for different people in society. That's how we want to enhance social participations of PWDs. Previously, PWDs found it very difficult to vote because usually the voting stations were not very PWDs or wheelchair user friendly. In recent days, we conduct inspections of voting stations to make sure that the stations are accessible to PWDs so that they can cast their votes. Now, on the point about sports and cultural events, before the commissioning of the Kai Tak Sports Park, they have invited organizations of PWDs and the EOC to inspect their barrier-free facilities. We have not rated them, but the organizations gave them a very high marks regarding their facilities. As for students with autism, in 2023, we published a report on what challenges students with SEN face in tertiary institutions and universities. We know that there is misconception and misunderstanding among people in the workplace and employers against young persons with disabilities. The universities have organized many seminars inviting students and teachers at universities, stakeholders, and EOC to talk about how we can promote employment of young persons with disabilities. Let me also address the two questions of Ms. Kong. First, how we follow up on students with SEN and support them. As I mentioned in my presentation, in 2012, we published the first report on integrated education. We proposed several recommendations, and the EDB has taken on board many of our recommendations. In 2023, we published the second report on a study on integrated education. We have also provided various recommendations to the EDB. We see that the department has allocated more manpower and resources to promote and improve the system. In paragraph 15 of our report, the number of students that were admitted to universities has increased by fivefold. Well, that's in paragraph 25. It is said that there has been a notable rise in the enrollment of PWDs in higher education. The number of sub-degree and undergraduate students with SEN from UGC-funded programs increased from 318 in 2014-15 to 1,525 in the 2023-24 academic year. We know that there is room for improvement in terms of integrated education system, but we see that the EDB has been making efforts in improving the system, and we see that the number of enrollment of PWDs in higher education and tertiary education has increased. There are some PWDs that have been admitted to medical school. That's why the medical schools have been offering accommodations to these students to strike a balance between awarding professional qualifications with the provision of reasonable accommodation. The Hong Kong Society has been making progress in our support for students with SEN. Despite that, we will continue to step up our efforts in this area. As for employment of PWDs, we know that there is this problem of discrimination against PWDs at workplace. Over the past 3 years, we have received complaints under Disability Discrimination Ordinance of a high number. About 70% relates to employment relationship. About 30% are non-employment. Some were dismissed because of injury at work, and some of them received maltreatment because of their disability. We acted on these complaints in accordance with the DDO. There is room for mediation relating to these cases because the complaints often arise because of miscommunication between employers and employees. Some employees may think that they are discriminated against because of their physical conditions. The employers may think otherwise. Very often, we try to address these disputes through mediation. However, some cases were actually taken to court because the mediation was in vain. Over the past few years, we offered legal assistance to some complainants to prosecute their employers. Thank you. If there's no objection, I will extend the meeting further by 15 minutes until all members have put their questions.
Next, Mr. Eric Yim. Thank you, Chair. Today we talk about the equal opportunities for persons with disabilities to participate in society. It is a marker of social equity. I've got a few questions here. First of all, the EOC chairperson referred to the job opportunities for PWDs. I wonder if you have a figure with you as to PWDs. I want to know about the ratio vis-a-vis the number of economically active population. You said that for employment-related complaints, there has been an increase. Now the government encourages employers to take on more PWDs as their employees. I want to know whether there is room for improvement. Another point is about educational opportunities. I'm glad to note from the chairperson that in the past few years, there were more and more PWDs being admitted to universities. So for the past couple of years, have you got any complaints from PWDs saying that they were not enrolled or not admitted by universities because of their disabilities? The third point is that there are PWDs, despite their physical impairments, are talented. I want to know if you have got sort of more resources to help such PWDs to develop their skills and to take part in interest classes. In this way, they can have an enlarged social circle and they can enhance their self-confidence. I think we know that on the mainland, the government has got training courses for talented PWDs. A few years back, there was this show performed by PWDs in a dance called the Thousand Hand Guan Yin. So I want to know whether we are providing sufficient art and cultural opportunities for our PWDs. Probably there aren't enough. And do you plan to do more here? Ms. Lam, in relation to encouraging employment among the PWDs. Yes, we have been doing that, and I know that the Labor Department is represented here. So if they feel that there is a need to add to my answer, please do so. From the perspective of inclusiveness, we are going to issue a guideline this year. We are going to issue a guideline to support employees with mental health conditions at workplace. Now, employees with mental health conditions may have certain needs and we have to understand the conditions. We try to advise how employers can help such employees at workplaces. That is, while taking care of the needs, their work would not be affected. We are going to have animated cartoons so that we allow people understand the needs of employees with MHIs. And then we can promote inclusive employment. The LD has got many schemes to promote employment of the PWDs. Maybe I can defer to them in a moment. For the past 3 years, under the Disability Discrimination Ordinance, we do have a figure for non-employment related complaints. That's more about accessibility to premises. For education-related complaints, I haven't got the figure with me, but after the meeting, I can dig up the figure for your reference. That is, whether we have data concerning rejection as a result of disability in the case of educational opportunities. It is not that it's not important, and so I haven't included it. I will try to look up the figures. Encouraging the PWDs to realize their potentials. Again, it is important. Many NGOs are working on this inclusive effort. The UC will continue to render our support. Maybe the LWB would like to add to my answer. Yes, Mr. Leung, please. Yes, for the Labor Department, we do provide service to help the PWDs to look for jobs. We have got the selective placement division, and we help the PWDs by providing counseling, referrals, and we have career advisors to follow up on the cases, and we've got publicity campaigns so as to help PWDs that are suitable for open employment to look for jobs. We have also got allowances and subsidies for employers and employees so as to provide an incentive to employers to recruit PWDs and to employers to provide sort of mentors to help the employees to get integrated into the organizations. We've also got other major campaigns to pass on the message that PWDs should be given job opportunities. There were seminars, and then at universities, we, the LD, do attend their seminars regularly so as to address the issue from a professional perspective, so that attendees who are employers at such seminars will know more about the abilities of the PWDs. Do you have the ratio of PWDs that are working? Thank you for your question. We haven't got the figure with us. That is the number of PWDs among the overall working population. No. I mean, for PWDs that can work, how many of them are working? We will ask the Census and Statistics Department to provide a figure to us. There is a figure. Sorry, the speaker is off mic. 7.1% of our population are PWDs, and 96,000 of them are economically active. Mr. Rin Kong, Miss Carmen Ken, I was attending another meeting next door, so pardon me if I ask a question that has already been asked. the paper is very wordy. I hope you can make use of diagrams and tables to help us understand the case better. There are 4 pieces of legislation when it comes to equal opportunities and different forms of discrimination. But this paper is on disability only. There were 679 complaints last year. I think it's better if you can provide us with a chart. There are discrimination cases on different grounds, family responsibilities, sex, etc., etc. So over half of them are related to disability. In the year 2024, among the 712 complaints, since you are not giving us the total figure, I'm not quite clear about the significance of this figure. Are we seeing an improvement or worsening? The absolute figure itself is increasing, but you need to provide us with other figures to set us in the context. And do you take the initiative to carry out an investigation that is disability discrimination in employment-related and non-employment-related fields? Did the EOC take the initiative to investigate? And among the 200+ cases of disability discrimination, I want to know which category of non-employment related complaints is more significant, like entry into premises or campus. Thank you, Ms. Ken, for your questions. Indeed, after the meeting, we can give you the figures in the format of a chart in relation to the discrimination cases under the 4 pieces of legislation. Over 50% of the complaints received are related to disability. So it accounts for the majority. After the meeting, I can have the breakdown for you in the form of a chart in relation to the respective number of complaints pertaining to the 4 pieces of legislation. We did carry out investigations upon our own initiative for the past few years, usually in non-employment related fields, in particular accessibility, lack of a ramp to enter a premises. There were complainants, but then they didn't want to lodge a formal complaint, and they wanted to remain anonymous. So the UC took up the cases. So for non-employment related fields, yes, there were investigation exercises, like covering in the year 2022, 21 cases, 2023, 20 cases, and the year 2024, 12 cases. I will reduce them into writing for members' reference after the meeting. So I think I have covered all the questions, right? Yes, answered. Ms. Ken, in other words, for disability discrimination, it is still the major form of discrimination. So I hope the UC can do more, and please make use of your investigative powers under the legislation. If you need to have your powers enhanced so as to achieve improvements, do let us know so that we can amend the law to empower you to do so. For the rest of the information, please provide the answers in writing. That's it for the first round of questions. Ms. Doreen Kong will have a second round. Thank you for letting me have the opportunity. Just a quick one. I highlighted the case of employment field. You said that you had resorted to mediation, but sometimes you had to go down the route of litigation. What worries me is that perhaps the UC should consider the following. Under the existing legislation, are you enjoying adequate powers Well, for employment-related cases all around the world, we have seen legislative work to uphold workplace fairness. Now, if you have got hundreds of such cases, and bear in mind that such is the number of cases reported to you, of course, we have a very challenging economic environment. I'm not pressing for legislation right now, but still it calls for some study and research on your part. And then for SENs, I was glad to hear from both the chair as well as the UC that many of them saw a higher chance of being admitted to universities, but don't overlook the case of those who weren't admitted to universities. They were not that fortunate and they suffered because of their special educational needs. Do follow up on their cases so that they enjoy equal opportunities.
同埋我都想
Ms. Lam, I thank Ms. Kong for her questions regarding students with SEN in 2023. In a report on the study on effective strategies to facilitate school-to-work transitions of young persons with disabilities in Hong Kong, we have set out obstacles faced by students transitioning from school to workplace, regardless of whether they have admitted to tertiary institutions. Regarding our power, there is an increase in the number of complaints. We need to know why that is and the nature of the complaints before we seek to expand our power. We continue to review the effectiveness of the ordinances and our power. Just now, Mr. Eric Yim asked if we have been working on empowering PWDs with talents by offering them subsidy. We actually have a community participation program organized by NGOs. The NGOs may apply for subsidy with us to organize programs that empower and unleash the potentials of PWDs with special talents. That's what I'd like to add. That concludes our discussion today. Thank you, EOC Chair and her colleagues for coming. Hong Kong is a caring society. We have to make our society more inclusive for persons with different disabilities. Next item, any other business? There being no AOB, meeting adjourned.